I'm going to read you an extract from my favourite book of all time, Matilda, by Roald Dahl. By the time she was 3, Matilda had taught herself to read by studying newspapers and magazines that lay around the house. At the age of 4, she could read fast and well, and she naturally began hankering after books. The only book in the whole of this enlightened household was something called Easy Cooking, belonging to her mother. And when she had read this from cover to cover, and had learned all the recipes by heart, she decided she wanted something more interesting. I wonder what that interesting thing is. But more interesting than that, I wonder, who am I?
I'm going to read you an extract from my favourite story, Peter Pan, by J.M. Barrie. A moment after the fairy's entrance, the window was blown open by the breathing of the little stars, and Peter dropped in. He had carried Tinkerbell part of the way, and his hand was still messy with the fairy dust. "Tinkerbell," he called softly, after making sure that the children were asleep. "Tink, where are you?" She was in a jug for the moment, and liking us extremely well. She'd never been in a jug before. "Oh, do come out of that jug and tell me, do you know where they put my shadow?" "Where do you think Peter's shadow could be? Do you know who I am?"
The Boy Who Made the World Disappear by Ben Miller. As Harrison walked home with his parents, he studied his extraordinary balloon. In fact, he couldn't take his eyes off it. He was vaguely aware of crossing the village green and climbing the hill to their cottage, but it was as if it was all happening to someone else. The balloon was like a huge, dark magnet pulling him in. He stared deeper and deeper into its depths, looking for a place to rest his eyes, a shape maybe, moving in the black, or a tiny chink of light. But there was nothing. Harrison was starting to wonder if it even was a balloon, or something altogether more mysterious.
Charlie and the Chocolate Factory by Roald Dahl. "I think," Charlie said quietly, "I think I'll have just one more of those chocolate bars. The same kind as before, please." "Why not?" the shopkeeper said, reaching behind him again and taking another Whipple Scrumptious Fudge Mallow Delight from the shelf. He laid it on the counter. Charlie picked it up and tore off the wrapper. And suddenly, from underneath the wrapper, there came a brilliant flash of gold. Charlie's heart stood still. "It's a golden ticket!" screamed the shopkeeper, leaping about a foot in the air. "You've got a golden ticket!"
So Reading Wonder by R.J. Palacio. Mr. Brown's September Precept. Choose kind. When given a choice between being right or being kind, choose kind. "Okay, so everybody," he said, facing us again, "I want you to start a brand new section in your notebooks and call it Mr. Brown's Precepts." He kept talking as we did what he was telling us to do. "Put today's date at the top of the first page, and from now on, at the beginning of every month, I'm going to write a new Mr. Brown precept on the chalkboard, and you're going to write them down in your notebook. Then we're going to discuss that precept and what it means. At the end of the month, you're going to write an essay about it and what it means to you. So by the end of the year, you'll have your own list of precepts to take away with you. Over the summer, I shall ask my students to come up with their very own personal precepts, write it on a postcard, and mail it to me from wherever you go on your summer vacation."
The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe by C.S. Lewis. Chapter 1. Lucy looks into a wardrobe. Once there were 4 children whose names were Peter, Susan, Edmund, and Lucy. This story is about something that happened to them when they were sent away from London during the war because of the air raids. They were sent to the house of an old professor who lived in the heart of the country, 10 miles from the nearest railway station and 2 miles from the nearest post office. He had no wife, and he lived in a very large house with a housekeeper named Mrs. Macready and 3 servants. Their names were Ivy, Margaret, and Betty, but they did not come into the story much.
Harry Potter, Goblet of Fire. Dark times have come to Hogwarts. After the Dementors' attack on his cousin Dudley, Harry Potter knows that Voldemort will stop at nothing to find him. There are many who deny the Dark Lord's return, but Harry is not alone. A secret order gathers at Grimmauld Place to fight against the Dark Forces. Harry must allow Professor Snape to teach him how to protect himself from Voldemort's savage assaults on his mind. But they are growing stronger by the day, and Harry is running out of time.
Witches by Roald Dahl. A real witch gets the same pleasure from squelching a child as you get from eating a plate full of strawberries and stick cream. What's more unnerving is that the real witches don't look like witches. So how can you tell when you meet one? You'll find out all you need to know in this story about the most gruesome gang of witches unimaginable. Perfectly complemented with illustrations by Quentin Blake.
Black Beauty by Anna Sewell. Fearful as it was, no one stopped. No one turned back. Every moment the ranks were thinned, but as our comrades fell, we closed in to keep the others together. And instead of being shaken or staggered in our pace, our gallop became faster and faster as we neared the cannon, all clouded in white smoke, while the red fire flashed through it.
When Eragon finds a polished blue stone in the forest, he thinks it is the lucky discovery of a poor farm boy. Perhaps it will buy his family meat for winter. But when the stone brings a dragon hatchling, Eragon realises he has stumbled upon a legacy nearly as old as the Empire itself. Overnight, his simple life is shattered, and he is thrust into the perilous new world of destiny, magic, and power. With only an ancient sword and the advice of an old storyteller for guidance, Eragon and a fledgling dragon must navigate the dangerous terrain and dark enemies of the Empire, ruled by a king whose evil knows no bounds. Can Eragon take up the mantle of the legendary dragon riders? The fate of the Empire may rest in his hands.
My favorite book is The Tale of Peter Rabbit by Beatrix Potter. Once upon a time, there were 4 little rabbits, and their names were Flopsy, Mopsy, Cottontail, and Peter. They lived with their mother in a sunbank underneath the root of a big fir tree. "Now, my dears," said old Miss Rabbit one morning, "you may go into the fields or down the lane, but don't go into Mr. McGregor's garden. Your father had an accident there. He was put in a pie by Mrs. McGregor. The question is, though, who am I?"